Hey everybody, and welcome back to the aviary. I guess Bandit's saying hi too. So today we're going to talk about some of the preparation for breeding season, and then we're going to rescape the outdoor aviary. The reason for that, when I built it, all the birds were inside here. We were in a hurry, and I put up the perches in a good way, but it's not perfect. And here we're going to strive to be as perfect as possible. Best layout for the birds, best layout for me to access the aviary. For today, what that means is going into the bird cage, bringing out perches, bringing in new perches, moving some around, moving some greenery. And I think the best way to do that is just to try to do one half and then the other half. Unfortunately, I don't think I have the time or the desire to catch up every single bird, move them out of the way. So I think the best way to handle it is just to do like I described, with the understanding from y'all that there's a room in here too in the bird shed that's also doored off. So just like you would see it like a zoo or something like that, and I recommend this for anyone with an aviary, there's a double set of doors. So that even if the birds do decide to fly out of the aviary, they won't fly out and be gone. They'll just be in here where I can catch them, put them back in. Okay, so in addition to branches, I like to do greenery in the aviary, and I actually have some new cool ideas we're going to try out today. So the first thing is I talked with my sponsor, which is HARI, the Hagen Avicultural Research Institute, obviously a division of Hagen, who also owns Exoterra. And Exoterra was kind enough to send along some jungle vine, which they actually make for like reptile enclosures. It's flexible. Here, we can go ahead and open one up. It's flexible, it's waterproof, and it's animal safe. So we've got a couple packets of the large and a couple packs of the small. We've also got a bunch of fake Christmas garland left over, from hobby stores around here. Once Christmas and the holidays are over, you can get this stuff really cheap. We've got some more fake vine like I already have. This is all fabric, so it's bird safe. It might not be great for hookbills in certain cases if you found they were eating it, but the finches mostly just pull it apart. Sometimes they'll put it in their nest, but it's great, and I really like the way it looks. And then in that same vein now, we've got some flowers, and I'm going to try to build sort of a flower tower in there to give the birds something else to look at, sort of spice up the place a little bit. So I'm very excited about all these new things. So in a second, we're going to get in there, we're going to get started. First, I just want to talk about a couple things. I think it's good to rearrange your bird's cage every now and again. I wouldn't do it during the breeding season, which mine will start here in a few months, because you don't want to upset them during that period. But I think it's good for enrichment, exercise, gives something, birds are smart, and it gives them something to do, something new to think about, something new to figure out. Couple principles that you want to work on when you are scaping or decorating or whatever you want to call it your aviary. So first of all, you want to have all the perches need to be as stable as you can make them. I have some perches that swing, but if you notice, and I'll put a little clip of it in right here. But if you notice, they've got weights underneath, and that keeps them from swinging a lot, especially by the bird's weight. They don't weigh very much. And then you also don't want to put anything up that would be a hazard for the birds. You don't want wires that they could break a wing on. You don't want something that could fall and get hurt. So you try to set it up in a way that's safe for them to put their mouths on and for them to use and live on. So let's get to it. All right, let's talk about the layout here. Some things I really like. I like that I created this little cavern up here. BD likes it. She's been trying to figure out how to put a nest here for a few days, but we're not ready for breeding season yet, buddy. I like some of these things. A couple of the mistakes I made. This branch is too close into the wall, so this gets really dirty. And I don't have great access here. I don't like basically how I did this whole area. And I was trying to kind of make a box that I could walk into, and I sort of failed at that. So I'm going to try to open up this center area more. And then you see I've got some weeds in there for them to chew on. And then I don't like how I addressed some of this mounting. So we're going to try and get in here. May change how I do things here as well. Get in here and rearrange some of this today. Now this whole project ended up taking me about 8 hours over 2 days. So obviously I won't be showing you everything. But first, we're going to start with taking down the existing perches. To attach my perches, I use a combination of friction, gravity, and green floral wire that you can buy at any arts and crafts store. For the decoration, it's about the same. I secure the ends either to themselves by tying a knot or using floral wire, or in the case of the hanging vines, I use my staple gun. Now while I'm doing this, I'm being very careful not to disturb the birds any more than I have to. Obviously, if you're taking out their perches, it's going to be a problem, and really anytime you're in the aviary, it's going to disturb the birds somewhat, even if they're used to you. So what I did here was make sure that I moved slowly and made sure that when I removed a perch, there were no birds trying to sit on it. And that's really all you need to know for this part. As you can see, I've got most of the perches out of the aviary, and the birds are flying around stressed and nervous. To minimize the amount of time that this was going on, I had all my perches laid out in the shed beforehand, ready to go. So as soon as the old perches were out, the new perches could start going in. But of course, before we get to perches, we have to add in more vines. I really like the jungle look of the hanging vines. I also like being able to wrap them around each individual perch, like I described before, by tying one end and then slowly wrapping them around. It's critical when you're doing this not to accidentally make any snares, loops, or traps that the birds could run into or get stuck in and injure themselves. I also want to mention again that it's important to use bird-safe items in your aviary. Whether it's a food bowl, perches, decoration, or anything else, make sure it won't harm your birds. I plan projects like this weeks ahead of time, so I'm not left scrambling, or trying to make something work where it really shouldn't. If you're not sure what is or isn't bird safe, feel free to DM me on Instagram or search the internet. There are several great websites with lots of information about what's bird safe and what's not. If you're not sure, just don't use that item. Find something else. There are a ton of options, and you'll find something that can make it work. Now we're back to putting up perches, which is one of my favorite things to do. When I'm putting in perches, there are a few things I think about. The primary thing is it going to be safe for the birds? That's the most important. The next thing to consider is, where is their poop going to go? Birds are going to sit on the perch, and anything below that perch is going to get pooped on. So I try not to let my perches overlap each other. I also consider how I can attach the perch so that it's secure, because that's very important. And finally, I think about how the birds will use the perch and how it will appear to me when I'm sitting in my chairs outside the front of the aviary. Especially during the breeding season, I spend a lot of time sitting there and watching my birds. Watching your birds is a great tool for an aviculturalist. It may sound simple, but there's more to it than just enjoying them. This allows me to see breeding behavior, who's paired up, if there's any kind of illness or weakness, and if there's any aggressive behavior or something else where I might need to intervene. These long horizontal perches in the front allow me to do that. Because I prepare my perches in advance, I haven't measured them ahead of time, and I suppose you could take a tape measure, but I prefer the caveman method of holding them up and then breaking off whatever's too long to make the branch fit how I want it to. This takes less time, and I kind of prefer the look of broken branches instead of saw cuts. I like everything in my aviary to look as natural as possible. Unfortunately, my camera ran out of battery in the middle of this process, and like I said, I was going for speed. But I think you get the idea. So let's take a look at how it turned out. All in all, I love the look of the new aviary, especially the flower tower and the look of the jungle vines from Exoterra. It really gives it a wild touch. Thanks for following along, and I look forward to flying with y'all again soon.